Well, that was right. He didn't tell you this. He tells me on the way out. Yeah, my brother last night we had Missing in the bed. He was maybe that's something nice. They couldn't get over.
Big fat.
They say it's for the folks.
Thank
They
you.
believe it. But okay. A guten Freude, Schaffelich, Chaneke, alle Miles today. Here,
Oh,
let's
yeah.
see if this is up 1 minute.
Well, yesterday was
The first thing is that
yesterday was a bigger mile because there was Shabbos also, but
okay.
it's also
We'll
big
take that
mile.
mile
Today's
reading
also
today.
big mile. So today we just got only two Seder Torahs.
Oh, thank you so much. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam v'shakom midvari.
Okay.
I want to get started while
The Elam gets settled. So instead of reading right away from inside,
till everyone gets settled. We'll just talk about the first. People are still asking me about the time of. I mean, by now it's l'chayde. We're talking tonight, the last candle of Hanukkah, but people are still asking about the Zman of Adlokas and Neides. So first, I want to review quickly what the Mishnah Berurah says. The Mishnah Berurah says that basically there's three. The Gemara says that the mitzvah is Mishit Shaka Chama, when the sun sets, and the Rambam says Lo ma'achirim v'lo ma'akdim. You can't do it too much before or too much after. It's a time-sensitive mitzvah. So the Mishnah Berurah says there's three opinions. Basically, the two base. What does it mean Shkiyas Chama? So the Goinim say Shkiyas Chama means when the sun sets. According to the Goinim, you don't really need to have any Jewish calendar to tell you what time the sun sets. You can go to Rebbe Google, and he'll tell you exactly where you tell him where you're standing, which day in the calendar you're standing. He'll tell you what time it sets. You have to add about 2 minutes because the scientists are counting sunset the way it's going from from the horizon, and we have to count sunset if you're standing al Gagin Gavoyim Shabeir. So if you're standing al Gag Gavoya, the sunset happens about 1 or 2 minutes later. But anyway, be it as it may, it's lichtnish than them. I mean, as we said, you could do it a few minutes earlier, a few minutes later with the Hanukkah count. So it's not like Shabbos, it's a skillas, whatever. That would be the shittas hagoinim. Now, this is the old time achloikis that the Teves said. One of the arguments that Teves actually had in the Goinim said, he said, if you're lighting, if Shkisa Chama means that means a person can light the Menorah when the sun sets. It's still plenty of light in the world. How could you say a light in the window was going to stand out when the sun is setting? When the sun is setting, the light doesn't shine out. The Goinim could easily answer, "What's the big deal?" But you put in enough oil for a half hour. A, B. It is getting a little dark in the world. Anyway, we're not going to get into this argument. This is Lapoil. This is the oldest argument. The Goinim said that Shkia means when the sun sets. The Tosfos had a different formula for the whole thing. There's Tchilas Shkia v'Shoif Shkia. The sun starts to set, the beginning of the sunset, the end of the sunset. From the beginning to the end is about 16 minutes. Then there's about 10 to 15 minutes, and that's Tzeis HaKechavan. That's what today people call 72 minutes, Shitav Rabbeinu Tam. So if you go like Tosfos, there's two ways of saying when there's the time of lighting the menorah. Either we're saying it's Sof Shkia, which is about an hour after sunset, or it's 15 minutes later, which is Tzeis HaKechav. These are the three times. Thing is that there's a little bit of a problem, says the Mishnah Berurah. Mishnah Berurah is a little bit noita to go like the Rabbeinu Tam. You have to realize in the old times, in the old country means not just saying not posh, the old country. Old Ashkenaz Jews, they and also Sfardim, they didn't know, many Sfardim didn't know such a thing as the Shittim's Goinim wasn't popular. Everyone followed the Rabbeinu Tam. Came along two Goinei Olam. And similar that they were not two Gedolei Adar that saw so much eye to eye. But when we look at the Piskei Dinim, we find out that Kimat, like so much, their thinking was so alike that you say it's a shame they never met. But that's the Alter Rebbe and the Vilna Gaon.
Yeah, everything's the same.
And a lot of things, they're so the same. You see later the way, we know that
Christmas,
they're very, very the same. And a lot of things, no, that's their style and the way they learn, are very, very the same. If they only met, who knows? We know that the Alter Rebbe went to the Beit wanted to meet, but Lepoil, it never happened. That's Min Shemayim, it didn't happen. That's the bottom line. These two Gedolei Olam came along, and they had the unbelievable audacity, the Breita plates is what we call, to say, you know what, Rabbeinu Tam made a mistake. I mean, you know what I mean? So the Rabbeinu Tam made a mistake. So until the Alter Rebbe came along with the Psak, or also the followers of the Vilna Gaon. So if Shabbos, before 72 minutes, you took a cigarette, right? It was Issa Skila. The girl came along and the Alter Rebbe came along and said, well, no problem. 42 minutes after Shkia, whatever. I'm saying 42 minutes because that's what Chabad does today. And I'm just using this number. 42 minutes after Shkia, have a cigarette like a Mahadra min a Mahadra. Wow. That's big. That's very big. No, not 30. About 42 minutes. The sunset, 42 minutes later, in Chabad, they have a cigarette. So that's Minhag Chabad. So okay. So I'm saying all this just to show that the Alter Rebbe and the Gra, when they went with the Gaonim, they meant it business. They meant it. There are people today that keep the Zman of the Rabbeinu Tam, but when Shabbos comes in, they keep it the way it was kept for hundreds of years. And when Shabbos comes in, L'chumra, they keep like the Gaonim, but sunset, they stop doing Malacha. Most people that way. If there's a miyuta that's still mamish, like even when Shabbos comes in, they do
not a minute or two.
But today in America, the Onganum and Aminag, by Allah Yerei Mishleim is when Shabbos comes in, you go with the Gaonim. But you have to realize when the Alter Rebbe and the Vilna Gaon went with the Gaonim, they went completely with the Gaonim. They didn't have even the slightest doubt in their mind, 1 in a billion, that Rabbeinu Tam was correct. If they had 1 in a billion suffix in their mind that Rabbeinu Tam had any validity to Shitta, they wouldn't tell you that 42 minutes after sunset you should have a cigarette. Okay, so now let's go to the Mishnah Brura. The Mishnah Brura says, I have a little bit of a problem, he says. I really would like to follow the Rabbeinu Tam because that's what I always do. But the problem is like this, that once you have Tzeis HaKechavim, it's the time to daven Ma'ariv. And now I have a conflict, there's a machloikis between the Shev Yaakov and the Magen Avraham. What goes first? The Shev Yaakov says that Ma'ariv is Todir. The Shev Yaakov says Ma'ariv is Deiraisa, that comes first. The Magen Avraham says no, that Ner Chanukah comes first. No, we discussed it yesterday. Krishma, the Krishma part in Ma'ariv. So, and even the Rabbanon part of Ma'ariv, which is Shemona Esrei, is a Todir. So there's a Todir and a Deiraisa against Ner Chanukah. So therefore, Ma'ariv has to come first. Magen Avraham says no, it's the other way around. I spoke about it last week. I very strongly feel like the Magen Avraham is right. And I think the Shev Yaakov misunderstood the Magen Avraham. But anyway, be it as it may, we're not going to go back into that pilpul. The Magen Avraham holds that you have to first you have to first light the menorah. Why? Because he says it's a time-sensitive mitzvah. Why is it a time-sensitive mitzvah? Because according to the simple reading of most Rishonim in the Gemara, is that there is a beginning and an end time, and the end time is at shetich l'regel min hashuk, which today in New York is later, but in the Molek Tzaitin was k'mei shah, a half hour, 40 minutes. So you might miss the whole mitzvah, and just like by B'dikas Chametz we say that we're very scared that you're going to miss because Chachamim want, and by B'dikas Chametz it's less, because B'dikas Chametz you could do it all night. Allah Chatchil is kedai to start in the beginning. Here you're probably going to miss the mitzvah according to many shittim. Now, Lepoil, where our minig is, says Shulchan Aruch, that even after Tich L'Regel Min Hashuk, even up to Alois HaShachar, thank you, David, for joining us. That up to Alois HaShachar, if the people in the family are up, that you make a bracha. But Lepoil Chatchil, we try to do like that shittim. So therefore, it said the Mishnah Brura that you know what, light before Tzeis HaKechavim. So therefore, you have no shaila. You couldn't daven Ma'ariv. even if all year you go like the other shittas. Listen, today you decided you're not making any games. You don't have any mind of it. Says the chalois of chiyuv on you is not so strong. The thing is, the Mishnah doesn't tell you which says Chachavim is talking about. Now, if you're a Lubavitcher Chosid, for example, or you're a follower of the Gra, and depending where in the world it is, but at some point you take out Shabbos. So if you're having a cigarette at this time, if it was after Shabbos and you'd be having a cigarette now, so it's long after it says Hakechavim. So like in New York, when Chabad calendars go 42 minutes, so once it's so obviously, if the Mishnah Berurah might have not meant before it says that you should light before it says before 42 minutes after, but it's Kol Chad K'de Islay. The Mishnah Berurah says that another thing the Mishnah Berurah says that it's maybe the Rambam is right, and the Rambam writes that time of lighting the candle is at sunset. Loy ma'achin v'lo magdimin, and what's ma'achin in about a half an hour or yosef. So if you do it after that, according to the Rambam, you didn't do the mitzvah. So you have Maidav issue, and you have according to Rambam, you didn't. So try to, and he says anyway, you're putting enough oil that a half hour should, like a minute Chabad is to put 50 minutes of oil. So everyone would agree if you do it a little earlier, it's not that bad. So do it earlier. It doesn't say exactly how much earlier to do it. It doesn't say exactly how much earlier to do it, but the Mishnah Berurah says do it earlier. No one's gonna fault you for doing it like the Rambam, he says, which is at sunset. So even according to Mishnah Berurah, it's not terrible to do it mamash at sunset. But if you're a Lubavitcher Chosid and you're following the Alter Rebbe's calendar, then for sure you should do it at sunset. Or a few minutes later, in the 42 minutes of after sunset. Okay, so to me it's no nafkamina. Why? Because I think that the Mogen, I think the Alter Rebbe would pass me like the Mogen Avram. I think the Mogen Avram is good. So what's the difference? Anyway, you should light candles and then daven ma'ariv. It makes no difference. I think that the Shaviake Posha misunderstood what the Mogen Avram says. That just like B'Bedikas Chometz, you have to be careful not to eat. V'nidali, and then he continues. He says V'nidali, that you have to first light and then daven ma'ariv. Why? He says because lighting takes a few minutes. So the Shav Yaakov thought that that's the reason you should light the candle first because it only takes 2 minutes. He says just because a mitzvah takes only 2 minutes, you should do it first. I don't understand. He's a whole tshuva. He didn't understand what the Mogen Avram meant was something else. It's a time-sensitive mitzvah. So you have to do it first. You might lose the whole mitzvah. Legabe. That you should daven ma'ariv anyway first. Why? Because bedikas could take a few hours and you'll forget to daven ma'ariv. But by Menorah, it's not that way. So it's a
other factor.
We just discussed the other factor.
Oh,
I see. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Come after this, and I'll. Okay, so
why Erev Shabbos and Motzei Shabbos don't answer the question? The way we do things, Erev Shabbos and Motzei Shabbos is not enough chomer there to answer that. What do you do first and last?
Okay, so I'll get to it. Okay, so I just want to be masakim here. There's three shittas. You do it by either you do it by. There's three shittas. Either you do it by sunset. But what sunset? Sunset is when the sun dips under the horizon, which is like today is 4:35. Shkia. Or is it about 60 minutes later? Or is it about 15 minutes later, which is so three shittas. And the Mishnah Berurah says, you know what? The best thing is if you do it like the Rambam, you do it towards the beginning, 4:35, 4:40, do it in the beginning. So no one's going to fault you. The earlier you do it, the better off you are. Afterwards, you're going to get into problems, he says. You're going to have a problem. According to the Rambam, you didn't do the mitzvah. You're going to have a problem, a conflict of mind. So do it earlier. Okay. Now, Lepoil, what's a minhag Chabad? So there's three sichas. Everyone hangs their hat in another sicha and says, Dafka, this is the first sicha I haven't seen anyone really hanging the hat on. I'll hang my hat in the first sicha. And then I'll bring a second, the third, and each one is three shittas, like the three shittas that we have here and everyone says that you see the Fedish, it's written here in the Maimah and the Sicha, and that's what it says. In the Sicha, the Rebbe spoke in Motzei Shabbos Vayeshev Tav Shalom Tes, which I mentioned last week, and also Sicha Motzei Shabbos Kodesh Miketz Tav Shalom Tes. The Rebbe said, what happened was for about 2 years, the Rebbe used to give the Fabring instead of Shabbos and Motzei Shabbos. After the Rebbe had a heart attack, he was in bed, and the Rebbe wanted very much to say a Sicha or Maimah, say something. and they allowed the Rebbe to speak from his bed, and he spoke with a microphone. And then the Rebbe so it got better and better, and then the Rebbe, but still the Rebbe was schwach. So, and then the Rebbe said it's a good idea to have Motzei Shabbos of Farbrengen, so people all over the world used to be able to zoom in, before it was Zoom, but that they were able to listen. It was the hookup, exactly. So anyway, why it stopped is another parsha. But the poil that went on for about 2 years. Anyway, so there is this. The reason I'm mentioning it's Motzei Shabbos is because it's meduyak, because you can listen to a tape recorder. The Rebbe said that the whole idea of lighting the menorah is similar to the menorah in the Beis HaMikdash. And therefore, just like the menorah in the Beis HaMikdash has to be before night, there's no avodah done by day. The avodah must be by night. The avodah must be by day. Same thing. Elamai, we do it after Shkiyas HaChama because Shraga B'Tiyah Remayan. If you do it 3 o'clock in the afternoon, a candle means nothing. And the Rebbe said there that the Heirah B'Poil after Acha Kamoichi should also influence other Jews that they should light the menorah on time. A little extra thing to the campaign of Hanukkah. Okay. It doesn't mean that if today is the last day of Hanukkah and it's already after Shkia, doesn't mean you're off the hook from doing Mitzvah. You still have to, but it means the Chatchila that Rebbe was talking about Motzei Shabbos, like the Kviyas of this year, and the Rebbe said we see a Chiddush Dov in Hanukkah that every Yom Tov, Erev Yom Tov is not part of the Yom Tov. You can make the Sefes Kedusha, but it's not part of the Yom Tov. But on Hanukkah, because you have to light the candle, Mishat Shokachama, it's still the previous day. Is Erev Chanukah itself also has the Inyan of Chanukah in it. Like Inyan Ruchni that Rebbe tried to bring out, but like the Rebbe was always into this thing. The Erev Chanukah is already, you're doing the mitzvah on Erev Chanukah. Now, this sikha sounds very much to me that it's B'shkia, by sunset. Very much it sounds to me that way. Okay, the second sikha that a lot of people bring is there's a maimer. A maimer from 1 year before, the Tav Shalamet Ches. He brings a maimer said 100 years before that from the Rebbe Rashab, saying what's the difference between the Neiris Chanukah in the Beis HaMikdash and the Neiris Chanukah in your house and the Neiris HaMenorah in the Beis HaMikdash. That the Menorah in the Beis HaMikdash was done by day, and the Menorah in your house is by dark. Why? Because the Menorah in the Beis HaMikdash adds light to a place of Kedusha. But the Menorah of Chanukah is, even if it's dark beruchnius and it's bachutz beruchnius, so even there you can bring light. They ever made a very big deal out of this thought. Ask every Lubavitcher, tell you what's the of Chanukah. The Chanukah is that it's dark and it's cold and it's Rishus Harabim, and the Ner Chanukah can bring a lichtik, a feeling golus where it's dark, where it's freezing, where it's outside. Oh, shy.
We do it in the home.
Okay, kosher.
I think never wanted to
Not even
to have
the line. The
spectrum
line,
of
everybody
light
does
all
outside.
over the place, and he made it like that. So some people are going to light a little bit before, so that you bring to the previous day, and the other ones wait to the night.
I'll tell you my beard in a second, huh? Oh, so and in the sicha in that maimer, exact. That's going to be my answer. So you already jumped to my answer.
It sounds like presuming these should be in the dark.
Could be, but the lighting. But no, in the Maimed Dir Taka, he says. Look in the second paragraph, out of 5. He says, "Shazo b'soif shkia." He says, "Shazo b'soif shkia." That it's b'soif shkia. In other words, that there is such a thing as tchil shkia. Soif shkia is about 60 minutes later, and that's the zman. Befeidish, he says in the order, "Shazo b'soif shkia." So l'chayr it's mashma. The Rebbe says that it's soif shkia. 60 minutes after sunset. And the third sikha is, there was a sikha that Rebbe said to children, Tav Shem Mem Zayin. Now, Tav Shem Mem Zayin, it was exciting to me, because that year, I knew I'll be bar mitzvah right after Chanukah. And as a kid, it was very good because you can sit by the Rebbe's feet, you can come to the rally. And I made sure that year to come every day in 770. I mean, come out always. I mean, even now, I try very much to be always by that locker. It makes no difference. It's gears of the Yankees, but as a child, I always tried to be every single time when they lit the Menorah in 770. After Mincha, I tried to be there. So in the early years, today you go there even on a Friday, the place is packed. But when I was a child, the place was not packed. 50 people, 100 people.
It wasn't even that big either.
I'm talking even after that. Tav Shem Zayin, they already had that Menorah, fancy Menorah. Okay. But but that year was exciting to me because I knew after my bar mitzvah, I'm going to take off my hat. It's a pasnish, whatever, it's not the right thing to do. But that was, and after Hanukkah was my bar mitzvah. Hey Teves was like this, I finished putting on a Beinu Tam for the first time, and they came with the Rebbe's car from Manhattan with the good news, and they said that they won the story with the Svarim. My Zayda then took l'chaim. I was lucky because the Masib of my my bar mitzvah was the night before, because on that day my father and my Zayda were both like, they were in a different world. No, so my Zayda said the word that the Hey Teves comes after Hanukkah. Hanukkah was a neft, it was oil for one day and it lasted for 8. And Hey Teves mit late Mashke soll sein für 8 Tage, muss es getrunken in Nacht. So anyway, we'll get to Hey Teves in a minute. At that so there was a rally then, and the rally went for it's a very long time. The Rebbe spoke very long there, and then the Rebbe said Medavan Amayriv. And I want to quote, it's a Mugadik Yisicha. Kimish Zman Adlokas Neres Chanukah Mishet Shoka Chama. Zman Ma'ariv, in the order 79, B'Mogen Avram Tzesek Echavim. So in the Kvar Chabad magazine has a Kuntus Kashrus. I brought everything here with the numbers. If you want to research it, so I'm not telling you things. Mekufia. Kuntus Kashrus, he says that, the Rebbe said, it's Tzesek Echavim. And he said that the Rebbe used to work very hard in the early years on this thing called Talks and Tales. And every year Chanukah and the Talks and Tales used to say that, or in Sichot Lenor, he used to say, Im Chasheiche, should light the candles as it gets dark. And then comes Rav Broin, one of the Rabbonim and Kranites. He says, you see from here that the Rebbe holds like the Mishnah Brura, that already is the Tem des Man from Ma'ariv, that you have to have a Ma'ariv, it's a Fedish. Okay, so someone already spoiled it. That's what I'm going to say. My gross chiddush is, if someone already said it, it means it's good. They say a story with Chaim Volozhiner that someone told him about his sefer that's full of chidushim. He said, the things you write, I find here in Sforim and here in Sforim, but my stuff you won't find anywhere else. So he said, Lamar Dovadoma, if a person is going on the road and he meets a lot of people, so he knows he's going on the right road. And someone's going on the road and it's empty, it's fablonget mitten the Wald. If you're saying something and no one else thought of it, your whole sefer, one word, you can't find any other sefer, it's fablonget in the Wald. So anyway, I think that this is very sensible to say. This is masbir everything elu velu divil kim chaim. There's a room for Rabbeinu Apir Ruchnius. There's a room for the Goinim, and they were all tzadikei elyon, and everything Apir Siddur is true. There's no thing something that's not true. It's impossible. Elu ve'elu divrei kim chaim. Versteht sich in dan Hoge, you have to do one way. In the Maimer, you learn in Rosh Hashanah, it says about the shitta why it has to be a straight shofar. But we paskin has to be curved, so that's the shofar we're going to use. But Chassidus will explain every opinion. So don't tell me, because a Maimed says that the Menorah is different than the Menorah in the Beis Hamikdash. No one says, he says no, that the whole idea of the Menorah Chanukah and the Beis Hamikdash is I know. It's nicht gestira. There's this mahalach, there's this mahalach, and there's the third mahalach. We said there's 3 mahalchim. So that's not a shaila. Shaila is what happened at the rally. I think I understand what happened at the rally. The din is lagabe bedikas chametz, even though it's a little bit of a time sensitive mitzvah, because the Alter Rebbe holds that there's 2 mitzvahs. There's a whole night of bedikas chametz, and to do it bisman, so you should try to do it bisman. Still, he says that if there is a group of people that are together and they could have a minded, and then if they go home, each one's gonna, and by the time, and then they say, "Oh, don't worry, we're gonna do it. We'll get together." It's not gonna happen. So, kedai to have a mile first and rely. So you lose the mile of doing mitzvahs b'dikas chametz b'zmana. I think the same thing here. The Rebbe was in a rally, so 70's packed. There's some kids that are coming from public schools release time. It's not the pshat when they go home. They're gonna light the menorah and they're gonna go with their father to Landau's to chapas hamayda. They're coming home, maybe they have electric menorah if you're lucky. And even the Eden that are Yoidei Sefer, whatever, it is Berev Hamadas Melech. There is 300 children, and the teachers, and the Olam. There's a kind of Hora Olam from over 1,000 Yidden, Ken Yirbu. And when they'll go home, there'll be a big chelik that they're not going to daven ma'ariv b'tzivu. So you have to daven ma'ariv first. Why did the Rebbe was Metzayin to Mogen Avram? Mogen Avram is a shita. It is a shaka godla. So he's saying in the order that but not that Lamaisa, that's what he meant. I think that since
Pashtus, if it's man from Meidav, David Meidav.
for a tzibur and not even a yochid. If a yochid, I would say that even that it doesn't mean that the Rebbe passing into the Mogen Avram is talking about was a yochid. Loshen nira me is mashma yochid. If you're yochid in your house and you're going to run out now to chapa maidiv, so then by the time you come back, you might have lost this man. Oh, so health to Abish. Someone found lately a Xaviat from the Rebbe. They just published it in the Sefer, or whatever. About a few years ago, they published it in the Sefer Shulchan Menachem. That the Rebbe, someone wrote about a Sefer Chsiddushim and Hagim. I don't know Beyanach Chsidim. What's Nageya? That he wrote Minogenu lahadlik be'erech shtei shos achat tzesek achavim koilum tfilas arvis. The Rebbe wrote like with his pencil on this. L'choyret tzorechien hagdomas adlok lifnei atfila la'achar shemikvar higi mana. So I think that you know by the Rebbe every word is meduyik otzim. What is shemikvar higi mana? Shekvar higi mana. That's shemikvar higi mana. You'll say I'm a Lubavitcher Chosich, drag up with an extra word. I listen to what I have to say, and then you'll judge for yourself. 2 hours after Tzeisak Yechavim, there's no shita that now you can light the candle. Elamai, there is a shita, you can light till Lois HaShachar. But if you're trying to chap one of those 3 shita, you lost the train long ago. So now, why shouldn't you have a Ma'ariv first? Todir is koidem. It's a deraisa. You have to be first. That train you're trying to catch, you lost long ago. If you're telling me you're trying to catch maybe the Rambam, maybe the Rabbeinu Tam, maybe Tilish Sheikh. Once you're 2 hours after Shkiyas Achama, if that's the train you're trying to catch, that train already is way. It's already in Yerushalayim. That train, it's left the station New York right now. It's already in the central station of Yerushalayim. Forget that train. Now you're relying on the shit that the Rishon you can do it till Alois Hashacha. So versteht sich between Maidiv, which is a Todir, and Krishma the Reise. That's what the Rebbe says. Lachashem mikvar, understand, emphasize mikvar. That train already left the station. It's in Yerushalayim. Versteht sich now you have to daven Maidiv first. The whole discussion of the Mishnah Brura, the Machloikis, is only when you can catch a train. There's the first, the second, the third train. You try to catch at least the third train. So the Mishnah Brura says, L'chatchila, try to light Taka Mishashaka Chama, you don't have a problem. But if you otherwise daven Ma'ariv first, I would say no, like the Mogen Avram, that you should light candles first because you might miss at least the third train. But when you already missed the third train, the versteht sich have to daven Ma'ariv first. So I think that's the Rebbe's shit. I think it's a double poshut. Again, according to Mishnah Brura, even the Mishnah Brura, which goes with the Rabbeinu Tam's man, suggests that the best thing is to light it doesn't mean that second you have to light tonight 4:35, 4:40 is echad good, but you should try to do it in an earlier zman. Then everyone is good with you. The Rambam is good. You get all 3 shittas. Everyone's happy with what you did. So, but if you're a Lubavitch, that the real zman of shkia to you is the zman. So for sure, you find different sichas. So first of all, the Rebbe is answering all the shit. So that's what I think is the bottom line. Yeah.
Well, I'm saying today people have to work to a certain time, like they get up to 5 to 6.
True, that's different. I mentioned it last week. A person that's working, it's hard to imagine that there's such a mitzvah to lose your job over, if a person's already taking off sukkahs and it pays Cholamoyed and this and that, mechanish. So the Menorah says it's toiv. It's good to rely on the shittas that say that there is a zman lamachnim lamagdim, whatever one of these 3 shittas. But if you're going to lose a job over it, so l'poil we paskin even lagabe a brocha that until alois hashacha you can make the brocha better before chatzos. The Mogen Avram says that as long as the family is up, and that goes to your question you said before, because really. The days of the Talmud, the Pesum Nissa was to the people in the street, but today the Pesum Nissa is for the people in the house because we do it in our house. So I don't think a person, but I'm talking only to the person that has the time.
Yeah. Also, the other thing is the person lives alone. His children are married out, and his spouse passed away. So that person doesn't have to drag someone from the next door house to see him light the menorah, does he?
Hashtetzach, this person is better off to do it. In New York, this person doesn't have a shaila because as long as he's doing it in a reasonable time, there's still loitich l'regel min hashuk. So,
You're doing it inside in your house.
but still, the Chazal made it the zman tich l'regel min hashuk. So it's a reasonable. They didn't say exact a minute for it. So it's,
I want to tell you something what happened Friday now. I was lighting the menorah, and next to the door between the dining room and the side, and because of the change of the weather, my window to the outside and the door, everything was foggy. So I said I was doing it, and I said, there's not even a chance of somebody coming from outside and seeing it.
That's why you put that by the
That
window.
second, I get the bell rings. Who is the FedEx? And the guy is like that with the head on the
so you see,
delivering a package. So
you see no, that's okay.
That's the one.
Someone asked me an interesting shaila. He bought a croissant. What could be bad in a kosher bakery? He didn't like to make shilas. He bought a croissant. What's the problem? He found out that the croissant is milchik. So here's his shaila. It's Talmud Chacham. He says the din of Shulchan Aruch is that you're not allowed to make milchik bread or fleishke bread. You're not allowed to make bread with butter or make bread with schmaltz.
Milk.
And if you do, the bread is also. It's also to eat. It's also to eat unless you have something which is a davar mu'ud. And Shulchan Aruch says you have to eat it with vasachad. Maybe the Ramah says a little more. So there can be nechel b'yoymai. So he says to me like this. Here's his question.
Okay.
Maybe this croissant is also to eat. So like this. We'll read it inside. Let me read it inside.
So you give Zalgachas.
The Shari Tshuva says that if it's not a bread that's a regular bread, it has apples inside, cherries inside. So then that's not bread. You can make it milchik or fleishik. So today there are a lot of pastries that they make milchik. So cheese danish is different. Shulchan Aruch says if you're making a simon, if you make it a different shape. So cheese danishes, they have a certain shape that's not regular bread. So and besides that, it's people don't eat cheese danishes and put on top of it jelly and peanut butter and egg salad and so on. Huh? It looks different. You could say because it has a certain tzura. Let's read it inside. The Shulchan Aruch says like this: Ein loshem isa b'cholav shema yavel achlein bas. Amen. The Shaila base. Ein loshem isa b'cholav shema yavel achlein bas. You can't make lisha. You can't put cholav in the isa. You might eat it with bread. Losh kolapas also. I feel ochla lavada. It's also to also eat the bread. If you made a shin on the tzuras apas, is mutter. The Pesach Tshuva right. I'm Shuvas Marit. Shekosav the aim oil shinu dag bebeisa. Lasas a pas meruba limkre beshuk also the orchim leakid beshinu. Av smach do also the cheshem shishkach loidia. The shinu is only in his house, but to make a pass to sell into the shuk is awesome. So the truth is, the cheese danishes you're selling in the shuk. So just to rely on the fact that it's a different shape might not be good enough. But we'll say in a minute that you can rely on the fact that it's a pastry. Vayin. Chelik dalat shekosav oid the shina in the middle of the rak shina b'shatz apiyah. The law of Alef shemisu klal. Avalas is shina acher shekvar nefet to make a shina after it was already baked. Ain't a moil. It's not going to help. Chen lechalkal arab b'nei adam. If you want to divide it to many families, shegir lekol echad avamut oser. Given shekvar neser v'nasa nevela. It became like a piece of nevela. So you can't say I'll give. A person's going to say, "Oh, I only bought one croissant, and that's a davar mu'it." You give b'vas achas. No. He says that v'chein das a prima god and the law ke crazy place b'shem zakonai Not like the Kresi Pelesi, the Bernis Navshitz says from his grandfather that they had such a case that they accidentally had made milk or fleshke bread, and he said they should give it to everyone on the block, one loaf, so they'll eat it up quickly and it's not a problem. So,
Does that make a difference?
so why does it make a difference? He only bought one croissant. He only bought one croissant. But the thing is like this: everyone asks against the Kresi or Plesi, but the Gemara is mashma that it's also. The Gemara said that it happened, and Rabbi Yosef said it's also. Why didn't Rabbi Yosef say give one loaf to every person on the block? So therefore, they all answer like this: that the Gemara was talking about when a person did it b'mezid. So because a person did it b'mezid, it became also. The cheftza became also. Even though it's kosher bread, this piece of bread came like a piece of ham. You think it's bread, it's ham right now. That's if he did it b'mezid. But if he did it b'shoigeg, so you just have to make sure that there shouldn't have chas v'shalom that he should eat the milk and the flesh. So if you give it out to every family one loaf, they can eat it up
But
right
you tell
away.
them what it is.
And you tell them,
You have
then
to
it'll
tell
be
them.
good.
Milk, pick up,
Then it'll be good. So we see from this that there's a thing in the gavin and the chefts. If you did it b'mezid, and you made milk and flesh bread, the bread turns into ham. If you did it b'mezid doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It means you know that the bakery knows what they're doing, not that it accidentally spilled in. So if you've been amazed, you made milk flesh bread, it turned into a piece of ham. But if you did it b'shogi, it's not ham, it's bread. But you have to be careful. You shouldn't end up eating it with milk and flesh. So divide it, one loaf per family, a davar muad they can eat right away, and tell them that it's milk or it's flesh. That's what he says. But that's not going to help us for the croissant, because the croissant was made b'mezid. B'mezid means they had a recipe. They made it this way especially because they wanted it to be fancy. So let's read a little further. If there's a pocket of sweet stuff inside, like sweet cheese or sweet apples or cherries, אחריהם יכול גבינה, דיינו מה שאוסר לנו ואין לגזר גזירה אחרת עולה. Okay. Huh? Because no, so he's saying that no one eats. No, that's what he's saying. The basa b'cholov is only when you eat it together. It's more common. So bread, since a person eats bread and puts cheese and meat on it, so they were scared. On the milchke bread, you'll put salami, and the fleshke bread, you'll put cheese, and you'll eat it bevas achutz, which is more chamur. But to eat zechaza, he's going to eat a cheese Danish. Never going to put salami on it. After he swallows it, he'll eat a piece of salami. It's not so bad. Taki, you're supposed to make a hefsek. You're supposed to wash your mouth, but it's still it's a little further away. And he's saying we're making gzeira. Maybe what Chachamim made. Maybe this is part of the marit. I think that all the hechsher companies that are giving today, you have milk and muffins. What are they relying on? There's no shinui. And some of them taki, you can see the cheese on the top. But some of the muffins you don't see the cheese on the top. You don't see the cheese on the top. So a muffin is a muffin is a muffin. You see a muffin, you don't know it's milchik. So, and if you put a sticker on the milk, it doesn't help. It has to be b'shas afiyah. There's a shin in the oifen afiyah. And today there's a standard look to what a muffin looks like. And it's a muffin. And really inside there is butter or there's cheese. So they're probably relying on this marit to say that what's going to happen. A person's going to not realize that this was a milk or a fleshke muffin. Today, no one's making fleshke muffins. In those days, people used a lot of schmaltz. They like to use schmaltz. It tastes good, yeah. Today, people are not so much using schmaltz. But
my mother used to put Pesach, only schmaltz. There was no oil.
So we say that this is the cool of the marit. But
the sticker on the box doesn't help with that situation.
No, if it was baked. Because that's what Chacham said. If it was baked as a milk or fleshke bread, it won't help the sticker afterwards. If it was done b'shoige, a sticker will help. But if it was done b'meza, means he intentionally put in schmaltz or milk, then it won't help.
I'm going to tell you two things. One is that.
Oh, you're giving hechshes.
So one is that there is a milchige place, has an oven, and they bake all the time milchige things. They want to use now they want to bake bread, warm it up, and they want to use it for tuna sandwich. Now, everybody knows that it's a milchike place, but at the time that you finish that bread in a milchike oven, it's a problem because you make it milky.
So what's the policy?
The policy is that they have to, when they want it ready to make the bread, either they have to have a special oven for the bread, or they have to kosher it. They have to clean it, and they have to put it on for a while in the highest temperature, and then they could do the bread. And when they bring the bread out, so that could be used for the
Tuna sandwich.
tuna sandwich.
Don't mix tuna and cheese.
No, he's talking about milk inflation. They're gonna have a bread, and instead of having it with tuna, what happens if they put on a piece of salami? Well, the guy takes the bread home and he puts salami on it. That's taka the shayla. That's taka the shayla.
Even if they put the tuna fish, the Rabbanim don't like that. That at the time that it came out was something milky.
Right. So let me go.
I got a question before you continue. You said before somebody is Danish,
Yeah.
Danish, feed it, and then take salami and eat it. And the stomach going mixed.
Okay, but it's not the same. That's not the same. The original thing is only if you cook it together. The Chachamim are more concerned if you're chewing it together, because if you chew it together, might be one of them are hot. Then they were also concerned to make a divide of time. So they said that after meat, you have to wait 6 hours, and after cheese,
1 hour.
maybe Chabad Minig is 1 hour because that's what the Zohar says, and maybe you just have to wash your mouth. Whatever it is, they wanted a separation, but still, when they're making now exeda, the breads that you bake, question is, so the Manit said that there was only real bread that they made exeda, but because bread, you're going to put salami or cheese on it, but not on pastries. Now, what's the shaila with croissant? The shaila with croissant is that today, if you notice, it became more and more the thing that people make sandwiches with croissants.
Yeah.
They put salami inside, they put eggs, or they're going to put salami and eggs inside. So the Emot Vetzach, the Shaila said that croissant is used as bread. So I'll tell you what. Wait another minute. Wait with us. Wait another minute. It's good. Don't worry about the Yamok. He's going to put on film in a minute.
I got to bakery that he spoke because I can't go to Isaac had a fire.
Yeah.
We know that.
So anyway, let me just get quickly to the Maskana.
When would you put the football on?
My daughter at Gepaskin to Shaila. Very simple. She worked now Baruch Hashem, she's not working there, but she worked in a bakery here on Avenue J. I'm sorry, on Coney Island. And she said, I said I'm having a Shaila. Shaila is the croissants are all potted. Whenever I buy a croissant, it's potted. Oh, so she tells me, what are you talking about? Haksta Chinik. In our bakery, all the croissants are made with butter. She says it's 70% butter and 30% other ingredients. So maybe she's exaggerating, but that's what she said. But so now it's so bazoi. When would it be a shah? So that's considered a shinui. If a croissant looks different than a loaf of bread. Now, if all croissants were potted and one bakery made it milchik, then you would say it's a shayla. But if there's a lot of bakeries that make croissants that are milchik, and croissants clearly don't look like a bagel or a loaf of bread, so the average person looks at croissant and says, wait a minute. Oh, is this a milchik or a fleischer? He's not going to right away slice and put in salami because he knows, croissants are sometimes milchik. Okay, let's leave it at this. We'll continue next week. George. You have some cookies over here. You didn't have it. But he wants to put on film with you.
What?
It's film. You didn't put on film.
Okay, wait.
Now.
All right.
Let's go on.
What segment? Yeah?
Thank you for waiting. There's no such a thing as kosher pigs. They don't make it.
Right.
That
You
tell-
just,
that tell in the box.
but if people know that sometimes the croissants are milk,
Hey.
they're going to ask.
Yeah, the bakery.
Hi, Ari.
Right. No, but if all croissants are always potted and one bakery did a difference, that wouldn't be considered a shinu.
Yes.
A place that they have fire and the croissants or other things.
That's the bench. You didn't wash?
Now, the people were asking, taking whatever they want, and they warm it up. Now there was one place.
For what?
Difficult, so it's like brings more problems. The fact that people know that something's will part of and not, it doesn't mean that people are 100% thinking of all the details at the time that they ask. So they warm it up in the same place that they warm up the milk, and I had to stop it. So, no, you can't warm up anymore the powder ones. So it's not so simple that people are going to ask everything.
Right. Yeah.
Very interesting. I'm gonna think twice about warming things up in the same oven. Thank you for teaching this. My wife always reminds me, like, you can't warm this up in this oven.
You see?
cooking
That's
meat.
where you need to be met.
Yeah.
Question. Are you?
We have-
gonna bring it?
Please, Mr. Zollman?
Yeah. Well, for sure.
And you're gonna have
For sure.
any for hate there?
We're gonna have this week, Wednesday night, we're gonna have
What?
for bringing. And Mitzvah Shem, yeah, we're gonna have here for bringing. Wednesday night, because Thursday's day Teves.
Thursday will be your birthday?
No, when will be both.
That's
Yeah.
8 o'clock?
And then we'll do it, yeah, Mitzvah Shem, 8 or 8:30. We'll send out yes. And then we'll do Chav Dalet Teves. Which day is Chav Dalet Teves?
So Tuesday the 17th.
So we'll probably do it Tuesday night, but maybe Monday night. I'll probably do it Monday night because of, right. So maybe we'll do it on Monday night.
Okay, they coincide with Martin Luther King. Yeah.
Oh, no, Martin Luther King, look how it'll be. This is L'Zeichen Classic.
That's your Hebrew birthday.
No, we have
Yeah.
at least Mr. Zollman.
Koyach David for joining us.
Ma, Yashikoa for the beautiful shear. Can you hear me?
Wow. Are you sitting in your apartment now?
It's a beautiful apartment.
I'm sitting in the spare bedroom. And the shaila
Wow.
is, can I put Sephorum here? There is a couch that folds out. Can I put Sephorum in this room?
Beautiful. Well, how many degrees is it right now by you?
It's probably in the 50s.
In the
It went down
50s.
to the 40s.
It was pretty cold here.
What's the weather like there? What is it?
What is it now? Maybe it's in the 22. Shabbos it was 7 degrees.
Yeah.
Gavald. That's all right. It got down to at least 41 here. So I walked to Rabbi Buckett's. It was probably around 40 in the
Very
morning.
nice.
He
very
spoke
nice.
beautifully. Really nice.
Wonderful, wonderful. A freiliche Chanukah and a gute Chodesh, David.
Freilich Hanukkah. By the way, I just set up just for this year at about 3:30 in the morning, the camera.
Thank you.
I found a
You make-
camera on another computer that my brother set up. Yashikoach. Thank you. But
Shekayach a freiliche Chanukah.
keep letting me know about the Shirim so I can tune in.
Okay? Mitzvah Shem.
But tonight.
Yes, we're gonna have tonight.
Wonderful. I really appreciate it so much. I davened by Rabbi Bucket. I picked up a Chayenu.
No.
Taka. He put him out.
Very
So,
nice.
so I asked him. He said, "Take one."
About
So,
time and then.
But,
Shem Adonai mevarach ma'ata v'ad olam.
Anyway,
Freiliche Chanukah.
it's very Baruch Hashem, and I want to put on the back of the car Happy Hanukkah at least for 7, Shavi and Rosh Chodesh, and next door neighbor. I want to bring a menorah with 7 and 8 candles, etc. And next door to her, I brought a menorah. So Baruch Hashem, I'm trying to do my Yishtadlus.
Very good. A freiliche Chanukah.
Hanukkah.
Freilich Hanukkah, Good Chodesh, etc. All right. Anyway, very good. Thank you. Thank you very much.